This is an almost decade-old Mac Mini, and what we're going to be doing today is turning this into our Homelab. Now, most people think that you need something extravagant or extraordinary to set up their Homelab, and that's just not the case anymore. With some of the modern software that we have and different OSs that you can run, such as what we'll be using today, which is Proxmox, you'd be amazed at what you can get out of an old hunk of junk, just like this Mac, and make it do something useful for you. Now, I'm using this because this is something that my old manager gave to me, that way I could start learning how to do virtualization. You can use whatever you have laying around. While a lot of you might jump to saying, let's use a Raspberry Pi, you're not wrong. It's a fairly cheap computer, but it runs on a different architecture than your standard computer. It runs on something called ARM, which can limit some of your virtualization options. What I would recommend doing is going on to Facebook Marketplace or something else like that, and then just buying some used junky computer that's less than $100. You're going to have way more expandability. You'll probably get a lot more computer. Granted, it won't be as fast, but we don't care about how fast it is. We're not building a gaming computer. We're building a server, a home lab. We don't need a whole lot of fast compute. What we're going to need is some creativity. This Mac doesn't give us a whole lot of options as far as what we're going to be able to put on this server. We're going to have to be really mindful of what we put on it and what services we're going to run at the same time as everything else. It only has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 4 cores, and it's not hyper-threaded, so you only have 4 cores. So what that means is we have to be very intentional on what we're allocating on this Homelab server. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and get Proxmox installed. And then after that, the first thing we're going to do, at least in this video, is we're going to go ahead and get a Ubuntu VM set up and then get Docker installed the proper way. That way we can start working on getting Portainer and all the other services set up. And then after that, I'll have other videos that are going to come out then of different paths you can kind of go with this. The video that comes out after this will be the basic stuff that you're going to want in your home lab. We're talking Nextcloud, maybe Nginx, Fresh RSS, services like that. Things you can use every day. After that, I plan to split this off into 2 different directions. One's going to be more of a cybersecurity focused type of thing where we'll install Wuzza, which is a SIM, so we'll be able to do some detections and alerts and that sort of thing, along with maybe like a Kali Linux box just for the simplicity of installing Kali and having that there. The other route that I plan to go then is maybe more of a DevOps / software development style box. And we'll worry about things more like a CI/CD pipeline, things like that might help somebody that's more interested in the architecture and infrastructure side than it is the cybersecurity side. So without further ado, let's cut to me in the past, where I was installing the Ubuntu server and getting Proxmox ready to go. All right, now that we have Proxmox installed on the Mac Mini, we're going to go ahead and start getting everything that we need for this Homelab setup installed. I went ahead and just mapped TrueNAS to this Mac Mini. That way I can just grab ISOs without having to re-download it, just to speed up this process a little bit. Otherwise, we'd be going to local ISO images, and you can either download via the URL. I recommend turning on advanced and then picking a hash algorithm. Normally it's going to be SHA-256, and then using that to verify that the thing that you're downloading is the correct version and hasn't been messed with or altered. Otherwise, if you already have ISOs on your computer, as in the one that you're doing this from, as this is a browser-based item, you can just upload it directly. Since I already have them downloaded though, I just figured we'd map this just to make making the video a little bit easier. Without further ado though, we're going to go back here. As you can see, we're sitting at about 1.5 gigabytes at idle, which is a little concerning, but we'll see how that plays out as we continue to move along. What we need to do off the start here is we need to create a new VM. We're going to just simply call this Ubuntu server. We're going to turn off the advanced for all this. We're going to go to TrueNAS, and we're going to grab this from live server. We're going to leave that all as defaulted. That's fine. I'm going to bump this up to 100 gigabytes. We only have 4 total cores to work with, so we're going to go with 2 total here. And we're going to leave this at 2048. It's a little lethargic, but I don't want to over-allocate RAM just yet. And we're going to go ahead and just say start after create and finish that up. So go ahead here, and we'll see how this starts to look as it fires on. Everything's looking okay so far. You can see the spike in CPU there, so this must be starting. Let's go look at the console. There we are. So let's try our install Ubuntu server. All right, cool. We're finally to the install page. I'm going to pick English here. It's already picked the keyboard for us. We're going to go with a full Ubuntu server. I'm not too worried about the drivers for right now. We're going to skip that. We'll go ahead and just grab whatever it gave us. That's fine by me. Don't care about a proxy address. We'll see if the mirror works. Crazy it works. I'm not going to get into doing a whole bunch of different ways to set up your disk for Linux and everything else. You can go watch another video for that, but I'm not the person for that, especially not in this video. We're going to leave everything as a default, as wasteful as it might be. My name is going to be Tanner. Server's name is going to be Mac Ubuntu Server. Tanner. Password is going to be something very secure. Always pick very secure passwords. It's so secure I typed it wrong. It's so secure I can't even type it twice. That's how you know it's a good password. Very good password. All right. I'm skipping Ubuntu Pro. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I was going to say normally I wouldn't even bother with open SSH server just because we're already going to have access via Proxmox. But one thing you'll learn with VNC through Proxmox's dashboard is you can't really copy and paste. So if you want to be able to copy and paste commands, it's a lot easier to just be able to SSH in it directly from your computer. That way you can then copy and paste, even if it's just, you know, Docker config files and stuff like that. And we're not even going to bother with any of this garbage. There's a time and a place for it, but it's not here, not now. And there we go. We're now installing, so this will be a nice, fun little time lapse for a little bit here. All right, cool. Looks like it's all done, so we'll go ahead and reboot now, and we'll see how long this takes. All right, we have our server. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do sudo app update to see if there's anything that needs to be updated. Looks like there is, and then we're going to do sudo app upgrade. You could use a semicolon and do this all in one command, but I kind of forgot to do that, and here we are. So we'll go ahead and let this run real quick to make sure that everything's up to date before we even get started doing anything else. And while this is updating, you know what we're going to need to do? We're going to need to install Docker on Ubuntu. And we're going to go to Docker's official docs. You could also use Podman, but I'm just going to use Docker as it's what I've been using before, and I don't really want to have to go through a whole bunch of other nonsense. Also, remember how I said about wanting to be able to copy and paste? That's where this is going to be coming in here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead here and fire up a terminal. Get SSH into the server, which I am. All right, so as I said then, you're going to want to be able to SSH in because you're going to have to copy and paste a lot of this stuff, and you're not going to want to have to go back and forth and just manually type it in. You totally can if you don't want to take this step, but I think it's a little bit easier because now we can just paste that in. Because we SSH'd in, it's a different instance. We're going to have to do our sudo password again, which is our super secure password, which you should have too. As you can see, we don't have any of that garbage installed because we didn't install any of it when we did the initial install script. And now we're going to be able to just take this, copy that, come back over here, paste all that garbage in, and just hit the button. Makes it way easier. Like I said, you can totally take this in line by line. I think this is a way faster way to do this. Is just be able to take it, copy it, paste it. And by no means should you just always blindly copy and paste. You should always take a look at what these things are doing. And unfortunately, my ramble did not take long enough as we're still downloading the stuff for Docker. What we're going to do is let's actually jump over. I have a feeling we might know what the issue is here. Let's get the terminal out of the way here for just a second. So it's not actually as bad as what I thought. I really thought that we'd be seeing a really high utilization of CPU and possibly running into issues with RAM. But that doesn't appear to be the issue right now. And overall, if we go to the summary of the main unit, looks like we're doing pretty good there. See, network traffic overall is pretty easy. A little bit of CPU issues, a little bit of I/O issues, but that's all overall fine. All right, let me put the terminal back up, and we can continue to watch this spin. All right, so it looks like we're all good there. So let's go back to the official documentation from Docker here, and let's see what else we got going on. Install the Docker packages. That's what we just did, right? So we're gonna hit up on our keyboard, and we can see that that's in fact what we just did. To verify, try using this. Okay, let's do that. Let's make sure that we're running. That looks like we're running to me. So we're gonna hit Control-C to just close out of all that stuff, and then we're gonna use their demo container, which is Hello World. How fitting. And we're going to go ahead and get that going. And as you can see, to generate this message, Docker took the following steps. The Docker client contacted the Docker daemon. The Docker daemon pulled the hello world image from the Docker hub. Step 3, the Docker daemon created a new container from that image, which runs the executable that produces the output that you are currently reading. The Docker daemon streamed that output to the Docker client, which sent it to your terminal. All it's trying to do is it's explaining that if you're seeing this, it worked. Congrats, you have Docker and you successfully pulled and ran a container. So that's great. That's what we wanted to do. So now we have our basic system set up to then continue to build out from here. So to recap, what we ended up doing is we went ahead and we got Ubuntu server set up on the Proxmox host, and we got Docker correctly installed. We're going to actually pause there, as going on from here, we're going to get into Portainer, and we're going to use that as our GUI method or graphical user interface, and how we're going to deal with all the different containerization that we're going to be doing within this Homelab. That's going to be it for this one, and we'll see you in the next video.